Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Early Tea Time live stream. I'm Hunter Vaness. I'll be your host here today. Today, we're going to preview the Zurich Classic. One of, not really everyone's favorite event, but I kind of like these non-stroke play events sometimes. It's just a little switch up. But also, to me, it's kind of signifies the end of the beginning of the season, and we start to really get into the fun part of the PGA season. So, we'll break down the Zurich Classic here in a second. Before we do that, I want to ask you all a question. Again, this is a team event where golfers will team up into a team of two or into a pair. I want to ask you all, who is your dream pair? If you could choose any golfers out there, these can be current players or former players that played. Maybe they're retired, for example. If you could pair them together for the Zurich, who would it be and why? So you can pick any players for this scenario. So they can both be current players, they can both be former players. You can mix and match. Obviously, you'd probably want to pick your favorite players, but I'd also want to hear why for this as well. We'll offer some subscriptions for our PGA package to those that have the best answers, and I'd love to get a lot of feedback for this. And I would also like to hear why. Why are you pairing these two golfers together? One, is it for fun, for example, like Taylor Gooch and Max Homa, even though I think they have a decent chance this weekend. They're definitely a fun pair, definitely a fun pair on Twitter too. Or are they more of a strategic play? So, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, that'd be the GOAT pair probably. Or are they more just your favorite players, for example? I would love to see Tiger Woods and Victor Hovland tee it up. Mainly because I just think they're two of my favorite players. It'd just be fun to see Tiger have a straight face, have that Tiger look the whole time, and then Victor laughing after, every shot that he hits. I think they'd have a fun time, especially the Tiger that we see now. So again, if you could, pair up two players together, former or current players, or a mix of both. Again, who would they be and why? I would love to see that on Twitter. You can throw it in the YouTube chat here as well. Just again, I would love to see what we're thinking here today. So let's get into the event this week. Again, it's going to be 80 different teams of two this week. Again, no stroke play this week. We will see two different formats when it comes to scoring. So first off, we'll see the four ball. Four ball is pretty straightforward and easy to remember. Everyone plays their own ball, so there will be four balls in play the whole time. For example, Victor Hovland can shoot a birdie. Morikawa might hit a par, and their score will be a birdie for the hole. So again, they'll just kind of take their best score. I've been calling it best score. Again, it's called four ball. There's four different balls in play. They take the best score for each hole. So you'll see a lot of low scores in this range. Just looking at previous leaderboards, there's a lot of 62, 61s. We'll look at some records here in a second, but when you're getting professionals and you're just taking their best score, you're going to get a lot of low scores in those rounds. We're also going to see the foursome format. It's essentially alternate shot. So, for example, Hovland will tee off, Morikawa will hit that awesome iron shot, and then Hovland will hopefully put it in. It'll probably be within 5 feet with Morikawa's iron. So it is alternate shot, though, so it's a little bit more strategic. I will look at how golfers might strategize to do that here in a second, but that's definitely going to be one of the more tougher formats that we'll see, especially golfers, of course, this weekend. So Thursday will be four ball. Friday will be the foursome, the alternate shot. And then the cut will be made after the top 33 and ties. They will advance to the weekend. And then Saturday will be four ball once again. And then foursomes will be on Sunday. So I think that provides a pretty dramatic finish. Again, the alternate shot's the most difficult. Just looking at my notes from last year, all I wrote down was you must do well in the alternate shot format, which makes a lot of sense, I guess. Definitely puts more pressure on each hole when you're not just playing for yourself, but you're also playing for your partner. Whereas the best, score, you can, like one guy can score an 8, but, as long as your partner's hitting a birdie or a par, that's the score that you're going to get. So we can definitely target some streakier players when we are, looking at lineups here in a second. Because again, as long as their partner's doing well, we can get some guys that are a little bit more aggressive. So I would definitely feel a lot of pressure if I was playing in this. Again, because you're hitting your own shot, not only are you, doing well for yourself, but you also have the pressure of your teammates. So I think that's why It's important to look at, maybe golfers that have played with each other in the past or have played this format before, because they'll know what that pressure feels like. They've been through this experience. Um, it's not really new to them, I guess. Um, let's look ahead here. So again, all I remember from last year is that you have to be good at the alternate shot format. Again, the record here is a 65, which Rahm and Palmer shot in 2019. 67 was the low from last year. The team of Warinski and Peter Eulin, and then Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schofley both hit a 67 last year, I believe, in the final round. So that's the low score for that. However, the four-ball record is about the record is 60, and that's been hit about 5 different times. As far as players or teams in this event that are have that record, Kisner and Scott Brown shot that score in 2017, and then Ches Reavie and Lucas Glover shot that in 2018. So again, you don't really see a low score in that alternate shot because it just makes a lot of sense. In the four-ball record, you have multiple chances, I guess, throughout the round to get a birdie. You'll definitely see some low scores there. So I will look at teams that have paired well together before. I've played well in these kind of events, like I was saying. Also look at match play guys because I think I know it's not the same, of course, this team event and match play, but it's just a non-stroke play event. So again, I want to look at players that are used to this kind of format and I don't know, are used to this kind of event, I guess. So I also want to consider balanced players that can score low. Guys that don't really have a weakness in their game. I know that's kind of wishful thinking. Of course, you don't really get that too often. We'll also look at players that are in form. That makes sense, of course, too. Players that are not in form will really struggle in that alternate shot format, like we saw with Matthew Wolff last year. Can really, again, lead to a horrendous score in that second and fourth round. Leaderboards will show, again, low 60s in round 1, followed by high 70s in round 2, even 80s we've seen at times following that low 60 round, or even from a first-round leader, for example. So that's why I think a lot of people don't really like this event because there is a lot of luck that goes into it, right? Just where is your ball going to land? It's not even your tee shot, right? But how is it going to how are you going to hit that second shot, even if it's not in the right location that you're used to, for example. So I don't know. I'm trying to get used to playing these events a little bit more and definitely, biting down on them too, because I think a lot of DFS players just throw them to the side and take the week off, which I totally understand. PGA DFS is a long, long season and we definitely need breaks, but I'm trying to change my mindset on that because I think there's a lot of edge because people aren't really paying attention a whole lot. So, that's what I got there. Yeah, I like that, dude. Charles Barkley and Bagger Vance. I don't know if we'll call Charles a professional, but I definitely think we can take it. I like it. As far as DFS goes, the rules are the exact same. As far as scoring goes, birdies are worth the same. There's 30 points to first place, for example. So we don't have to, adjust anything in our lineups, as far as scoring goes. However, building lineups is a little bit different, and I'll pull this exactly from the DraftKings page here. It says, in team stroke play events, golfers compete with a partner. Every golfer expected to play in the event will be included in the player pool, but you cannot draft both partners from the same team to the same lineup. And I think DraftKings will actually prevent you from doing that. I haven't tried it to do that this year, but I just remember that from last year. Again, you can't draft players from the same team. I guess that'd be an advantage if you're picking guys that do well, but they just take that worry out of the way from you. You don't have to stress over that. So that is the rules. That is kind of the format here. It takes a little bit of time to go through that. If you have any questions about that, throw in the comments there. Hit me up on Twitter. I know I kind of went through that a little quickly, but it is different than stroke play event. So you just need to be aware of that because you're going to see some different scores this week than what we're used to. So let's get into the course a little bit. TPC, Louisiana, it's found right outside of New Orleans in Avondale, Louisiana. Just some quick facts here. It's a par 72. It comes over a little over 7,400 yards. The greens are Bermuda grass, and they run at a stimp meter of about 12 plus or so. There's about there are 8 water holes, where water comes into play. There's over 100 sand bunkers. A lot of them are those Pete Dye bunkers. If you remember me talking about that from last week. Again, Pete Dye loves to have just little tiny bunkers, just kind of surrounded through, each hole. He also likes really long bunkers too. So you'll see a lot of Pete Dye different, features, I guess, throughout the course this week, as we are through another Pete Dye course. The rough is about 2 inches, so not the most penalizing. Kind of similar to last week. It is longer than last week, but the greens are about 5,400 square feet on average, I think I read. So a little bit bigger than last week, but still on the lower than average, I guess, or below average side. The cut line over the last 5 years, there's actually only 4 years. We'll get into that here in a second. It's -6, -8, -5, and -7. So like I said, guys love to go. I mean, guys are going to go low here because it's a team event. It's also not the toughest course, I guess, either. So that cut line gets pretty deep below par there. And that's why you can't have a tough second round. You have to shoot at least a 74 or better, just looking at previous leaderboards. Again, since that cut line gets so low. Or you just have to come out firing in that opening round. Some comp courses here. We got Cays Valley, which is home of the BMW Championship, Grand Reserve Golf Course, home of the Puerto Rico Open, the Stadium Course at PGA West, and other TPC and Pete Dye courses as well. Those will be some courses that you can kind of look at, but that kind of gets pushed to the side this week with this team play. I'm looking more at experience, guys that have played together, for example. That's really my main 2 things, I guess. Some other, tidbits on the course here. It is the top 10 or in the top 10 for longest courses on tour. Again, over 7,400 yards. We'll look at some stats that are specific to that yardage here in a second. As far as the par 3 goes, they are some of the longer ones on tour as well. They all measure from 200 to 225. They rank as, the more difficult holes on the course here. There are 4 par 4s that measure 475 to 500 yards, and they see bogeys at about 20% of the time. So those longer par 4s will definitely be, you definitely want to at least get par on those, especially in that alternate shot format. As with most courses, the par 5s are all scoreable. They provide the highest birdie rate. We might even see some eagles there, especially in the 4-ball format. So, might want to look at some longer hitters there. Some tough holes. The 476-yard 6-hole is a large dog leg left par 4 that again plays along a lake. There's 8 different water holes, so you're definitely going to need some accuracy within your lineups this week. Only the longer hitters will be able to clear the water, so most players will have a longer iron shot, up towards the green, if not laying up. So that'll be one of the tougher ones. And then the finishing 18th hole, not really the toughest hole, but it is one of those risk-reward holes that sees bogeys at times, just because there is water, all along the right side of the fairway. So you can either, find sand, on either side of the fairway, or you can find water. So precision, again, will be really important this week. So let's look at some of the stats here. Let me pull up my notes again. Looking at the previous winners over the last 5 years, there have been a lot of low scores, as I keep saying. There's limited strokes gained data, but each of the winning scores have been -20 or better. So we are really going to need guys that can shoot low. Again, this is team format, so we're not really looking at like individual speaking. I don't know. Again, a lot of it does come down to luck, but we can look at guys that score a lot of birdies because in that 4-ball round, we're going to need birdies. I'm assuming a lot of birdies will be scored together as a team there. So again, we can kind of throw away the bogey aspect of that. Again, I wrote in my article here. Bryson DeChambeau is the player that kind of fits my mind when it comes to that. Guy who scores a bunch of birdies, even though he does score the occasional bogey, he ranks really high in bogeys as well as birdies. So maybe Adam Svensson fits that profile too. Again, we don't really have to look at bogey avoidance as much because that can be thrown away basically in 2 of the rounds. Um, Again, you have to make birdies here. So let's look at some of the stats. First off, got to have players that are in, quality form, of course. If we're looking at the last 24 rounds in tee to green, Will Zalatoris, Neiman, Chris Kirk, Adam Hadwin, Keegan Bradley are the top 5 there. And again, the last 24 rounds. If we break that down into the last 8, we got Max Homa, Adam Hadwin, Keegan Bradley, Shane Lowry, and Tom Hoagie. Hoagie kind of had a rough round last week. He got absolutely obliterated by Mito in my matchup. So we'll look to get that back this week. So again, that's for tee to green, though. Let's break that down into ball striking this time. You're going to need some really good ball strikes, ball strikers, excuse me, especially with the course coming over 7,400 yards. So if we look at that, looks like it's still loading there for me. And a lot of this is updated since I posted the article. So I might have to go back in and update that. Best ball strikers over the last 24 rounds: Will Zalatoris, Victor Hovland, Colin Morikawa, Keith Mitchell, who is coming in at $7,900, and then Joaquin Neiman. I don't know if I can get away from Neiman once again this week. I'll talk about him a little bit later as he's paired with Mito this week. Let's look at approach a little bit. We're going to need guys that can fire at those pins, guys that can drill the pins again to set up those scoring opportunities. So let's look at, guys that have been at the best in the field over the last 24 rounds here. Again, we're going to have to score birdies to set up, we're going to have to drill those pins to set up birdie opportunities. So over the last 24 rounds, as far as strokes gain approach goes, Will Zalatoris, once again, Victor Hovland, number 2, Shane Lowry, number 3. He's been playing some terrific golf recently. Cameron Smith, and then Adam Hadwin. He comes in at 8,000. He's partnered with Adam Svensson, as I was saying before. Let's shorten that up a little bit. Last 8 rounds: Victor Hovland, once again, Shane Lowry, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, HV3. He's been playing some really good golf recently as well. I guess it makes sense for Varner to get his first PGA Tour win, here in a match play event, but I'm not sure. His salary is not too bad. We'll get into that here in a second. So that's approach. Again, we're going to need some ball strikers, tee to green, all that kind of stuff. We can look at those stats all day. We'll probably see a lot of the same names up there. You definitely don't want to be married to the stats too much because, again, you'll see the same names up there. And if you do that every single week, I don't really think that's a profitable strategy long term. But these stats do just help you out with your biases. That's why I love going off them, because it maybe will show you a guy that you might have a little bias towards. For example, like Harold Varner, I rarely ever have played him, but it keeps popping up in stats. There's definitely a reason why he's been doing well here. So over the last couple of months. So again, stats aren't everything, but they do help you eliminate some of your biases. Let's look at some other ones. Birdie or better percentage is a really popular, stat this week. Again, we're going to need guys that can, score birdies. I keep saying that, but again, you can have players such as Svensson, for example, who I swear every time I roster him, he just loads up his card with bogeys, but he scores a lot of birdies too. And Hadwin's been playing terrific golf recently. So if Svensson's, alternating birdie bogey every other hole, and Hadwin, scores a birdie on half of those bogey holes and maybe par on the, a quarter of the other ones, that's going to be a pretty decent round in that 4-ball round. So I think they're going to be a popular play this week. Svensson's just popular in general, especially since he had a couple of decent rounds last week too. So I could see them again popping. So birdie or better percentage, last 24 rounds, it goes Cameron Smith, Scotty Scheffler, Neiman once again, Billy Horschel, Adam Hadwin. Again, he's been playing really well. Let's change that to last 8 rounds. We got Cameron Smith, Keegan Bradley, Hadwin once again, Scheffler, McNeely. Let's look at a long-term view. Let's look at guys who scored birdies a lot over the last 100 rounds. And again, we'll see Cameron Smith, who's really at the top of this stat in really almost every time frame here. Then it goes Scheffler once again, Hovland, Sam Burns, Cantlay, Morikawa, Schofley. There's a reason why those guys are all priced $9,000 or more. Again, that'll be a popular stat. You'll probably see that quite a bit. A couple stats that I talked about in my article that I wanted to highlight a little bit. First off is going to be proximity from 200 plus. We love looking at these proximity numbers just because, when looking at the percentage of iron shots, if we split that up into 100 different percentage points, and how far, those iron shots are coming in from, we can kind of get an idea of who's the best from a specific uh, yardage, I guess, or distance, and who will fit, what the course will show most often. So, for example, this week, players will see approach shots from 200 plus almost 30% of the time. So we can kind of give an edge to those guys that do really well within that stat category. Again, Will Zalatoris, really great with the long irons. You'll see him up here in a lot of these ball striking categories. Aaron Rai actually is number 2 over the last 24 rounds. Shane Lowry comes in as 3rd, Victor Hovland 4th, and Colin Morikawa as 5th. You're going to see Hovland and Morikawa quite a bit in these numbers, again, which makes a lot of sense, and they are the highest price option here on DraftKings. So, good ball strikers there. Let's look at scrambling really quick. Going to need some scramblers, especially in the alternate shot format. I can't really say that much. You're not going to hit the green every single time, especially your partner is not going to hit the green every single time. So that's my one worry, I guess, with Morikawa and Hovland. We'll get to that in a second, but you're going to need some guys that can scramble. Top scramblers in the field over the last 24 rounds are Bezadenhout, McIntyre, NOH, and then Jonathan Bird and Shane Lowry once again. And I think Lowry might be a solid play here this week. So, those are some stats that I didn't really dive into too much in the article. I kind of wanted to say them here for the show. You're going to really need everything this week, which is we say that quite a bit, but especially in this team format, because you're going to be hitting almost every, single type of shot. Players are probably going to be hitting shots that they're not used to hitting as well, because, they're going to be coming off of a shot that wasn't theirs. So, whether it's, the ball is on the left side of the fairway, even though, normally they hit it towards the right side of the fairway. Again, you'll just need to be used to playing in this kind of environment, I think. So, let's look at some of the field. I think I kind of went through everything here. I guess tournament history, I'll run through that really quickly. The last 4 winners of this event. Again, this has been a team event since 2017. We've got Mark Leishman and Cam Smith. Again, they won last year. They beat out Louis Oosthuizen and Charles Schwartzel in a one-hole playoff. Louis hit his tee shot into the water on the playoff hole, and it basically sealed it right away for Smith and Mark Leishman. So this was their first victory of the season. Last year, this was also Cam Smith's second victory here in the team event. Again, they won in 2021. 2020 was canceled due to the pandemic, unfortunately. 2019, Ryan Palmer and John Rahm won at -26. Billy Horschel and Scott Piercy won in 2018 at -22. Billy Horschel has also won this as an individual in 2013. I think that was his first ever PGA Tour win. So he and Cam Smith are the two, course for the horse candidates this week. I think you could definitely start your lineups with both of those two teams because they've played with each other before. Burns and Horschel, and then Leishman and Cam Smith. They're a little more expensive. It's kind of hard to find value in these kind of events. We'll talk about, some guys that we can target here in a second. Since it is limited, I guess we also have Cam Smith and Jonas Blix. They won it in 2017, -27. I think they were 100 to 1 back then, which is surprising, a number that you can get on Cam Smith there, but that was a long time ago. Again, since it is kind of limited for this team event, some runner-ups over the last few years. Again, Louis and Schwartzel was last year. Tommy Fleetwood and Sergio Garcia. I think they're going to be kind of popular this week. We'll see. They have some decent course history. They were runner-up in 2019. Jason Duffner and Pat Perez, runner-up in 2018. And Kevin Kisner and Scott Brown, runners-up in 2017. They've played this together a couple times before. So Otherwise, prior to 2017, again, this was played as a normal event, like a stroke play event. Some of the previous winners include Brian Stewart at 2015, Justin Rose minus 22, Sen Hung. I'm gonna butcher that name once again. Again, last name of Noh, and then Billy Horschel won in 2013. Jason Duffner in 2012. So again, Cam Smith and Billy Horschel are definitely the two, course for the horse candidates here. Let me refresh ownership really quick and see if I can get a updated number for you all here live. Looks like, and this is off Fantasy National, and I think ownership might be kind of tough to predict this week because you're picking guys again on a team. I don't know how. I'm not the data guy here, so I don't know how ownership projections will shake out, but you're picking, one player. I don't know how they will work. On Fantasy National, it looks like they combined both players together to get a good ownership number here. So it looks like the team of Sergio is coming in at the highest own right now. Then comes Cam Smith, defending champ from last year. The team of Mito and Neiman at 9,200 are coming in at third highest own. And again, this can always change, of course. Scotty Scheffler, 9,700, fourth highest, and then Will Zalatoris coming in as the fifth highest there. A lot of guys or teams in the 9K range there. Kind of surprised by that. And you'll see a lot of popular plays up here. Last year we had some value plays that were the highest owned, which just tells you everyone was going for that stars and scrub build, which, is very popular, of course, but I think that's probably the way to do it. I do think one of those teams at the top is going to win. It's just, I don't know. That's just my opinion, I guess. So, all right. Got a little time here. Let's look at some of the top plays in the field here on DraftKings, of course. All right, cool. So we start off with Victor Hovland and Morikawa. I've been using them as examples quite a bit, already this week or throughout this show. Love Hovland, of course. He's my favorite player. He was T25 last year with Ventura. They were actually in contention going into that final round. I think they're in the top 5 going into the final round. However, they shot a 6 over par in the final round, which was that alternate shot. And they, I think, also tanked my lineup a little bit. So, again, that was with Ventura. Not the greatest partner, and Morikawa is paired with Wolf, like I was saying. Also, probably not the greatest partner. So it's going to be really interesting to see these two play together. They're second and third in ball striking over the last 24 rounds. However, the one worry for them, of course, they are both in the bottom quadrant around the green play and scrambling, of course. So, in that alternate shot format, if someone doesn't hit the greens, which is probably pretty rare for those two, what happens when you have to scramble. But I think we can really throw that to the side. This isn't the most difficult course. They're both in pretty solid form. They've been playing well, especially, in the Masters. I think they had a decent showing. I didn't expect either of them really to win out there, but I think there's a solid reason why they're the top, highest priced team there. So Caitlyn and Schofley come in next. And let me change this around here. So these two played together last year as well. They finished T11 last year. I think they were the highest priced team last year, which makes a lot of sense as well. They are a star-powered duo. Caitlyn is fresh off his second at the RBC Heritage. He lost to Spieth in the playoff. Xander has been in pretty rough form. He didn't look great in the match play event. Missed the cut at the Masters too. So interested to see what the field will do with these two. I think it's probably a great, place to maybe get back a little bit for Xander. Except there's just some better plays at the top of the board. So I'm interested to see what ownership, does with them. But I could see myself fading them for sure. Again, they were T11 last year. They had a 74 in the second round that set them back quite a bit. But they are the poster boys for balanced golfers, guys that don't really have many weaknesses. They both rank in the top 50 in every major strokes gained stat on Fantasy National there. So, again, they fit that narrative of guys who are balanced, don't have many weaknesses. And I think that's why they do really well, as a team. And they also have some friendship too. Strokes gained, compliments, and high fives, all that kind of stuff. So, I really can't tell you to fade them, but that's probably what I'm going to do. So next up, we got Cam Smith and Mark Leishman. Again, these were the champions last year. Cam Smith has won this event twice now. Um, defending champs, shot 63s in the four ball rounds last year. I think they were -2 and even par in the foursome rounds again, which is a little bit tougher. Cam missed the cut last week, which I wasn't really too surprised by. He has that Masters hangover a little bit since he did well there. Precision off the tee was kind of required last week, which isn't really his specialty. And he just couldn't really make putts. So I'm definitely not worried about his form by any means. And as defending champions, again, he's a course horse. I think he's going to be a really solid play. I like how they're not the most expensive, but that'll probably lead ownership to, go right to those two. Leishman had solid tee to green stats at the Masters, so I'm going to kind of ride that a little bit, which was the last time that we saw him. I like that they played together in the past. I really like them in DFS. As far as betting goes, Hovland, Cantlay, um, you know, Cam Smith and Leishman, Palmer and Scheffler. We'll get to them in a second. They're all, to me, at unbettable odds. I'm not going to be betting them. They can go ahead and win this thing. I'm probably not going to be too butthurt about it. They're just not at odds that are attractive to me, especially in this stroke play event where you do need a little bit of luck. It's hard to repeat, of course, for really any kind of event, especially in a team play event like this one. So I'm not going to be betting them, but I think they are a really solid DFS play, even if they are a little bit chalky. Next up, down the board here, we've got the returning team of Sam Burns and Billy Horschel. Again, they played together last year. Burns played at LSU. He won the Sanderson Farms Open in Mississippi, so he's played well in this area. Horschel also plays well in this area. He grew up in Florida. He went to the University of Florida, so he played in these SEC location events, I guess. So he plays well in these southwestern states. So they finished T4 last year. They shot a 63, 73, 65, and a 69 on their 4 rounds. I think they're also a really solid play. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet as far as the strategy goes for DFS. It's hard to fit in 2 of these guys up top here while also getting some decent, mid-tier value. And there's not a whole lot of great options down at the bottom. We'll talk about one of them here in a second, but Burns and Horschel, I think they're really solid plays. If you can, pair them up with Cam Smith, for example, I think that's probably the route I would go. Or I would pair him up with Scheffler and Palmer, which is the next duo that we'll look at here. I am really tired of doubting Scotty Scheffler, and then he just comes and rips my heart out every single time I've done that. I don't know why I continue to do it either. So he's proved that he can win just about every type of event, match play, a major, different types of courses as well. He had a decent finish here last year with Bubba Watson, finished T8. Palmer won this event before with Rahm in 2019. Again, Scheffler, again, T8 last year, +1 in the final round after starting in the top 5 like Victor Hovland's team last year. So he's got decent history here too. He can play in any type of event. I'm tired of betting against him. I'm going to be all over them in DraftKings or in DFS, and I don't really care if there's a lot of ownership there too, because he's clearly showed us that he's that kind of guy. And I guess I'm buying Scheffler at the peak, I guess, or at least his peak right now, but I'm tired of him proving me wrong every single time. So I'll definitely be rostering those two. Again, the teams of Cam Smith and Scotty Scheffler, and I do like the Billy Horschel team as well. A lot of good options up at the top here. Let's fly through a few of the other options here. We got Poulter and Lowry here. They finished, excuse me, let me get my notes back up here. So actually, Poulter finished top 10 in 2019. Lowry has been hitting the ball so incredibly well. Over the last few months. I could also see him winning his event here. I could see these being a solid duo together too. Interested to see where their ownership lies. I think it's a really great week to go contrarian too, because anything can happen in golf, especially in this team kind of event. Someone might just have a terrible round two and send their team below the cut line, and only the top 33 make the cut too. So that takes out over half of the field or half the team. So I kind of like Poulter and Lowry this week. Lowry is due for a win. I thought it was finally going to happen this last week, but he really had that one hole that sent him back a little bit. So Sergio and Fleetwood, going to be a popular option, I think. They were second in 2019. They shot all their rounds under 70, including the alternate shot format. They didn't play together last year. But again, I think they're going to be a really solid option in this lower 9K range. Don't mind adding them as well. And then the name of the game this week is really going to be finding value, I think. There's another great option here, Niemann and Mito, both from Chile, probably played a lot of golf together, played in the Olympics together too. They're really good friends. So both top 10 and tee to green over the last 24 rounds. I think they're going to be a solid team too. Homa and Gooch, probably the funniest team in this event, especially on Twitter. Gooch really has no filter when replying back to some of the people who talk to him. Popular bet on Twitter too at 22 to 28 to 1 or so. Try and find a good number out there. Make sure you're checking odds all over the place. They had a T17 in 2022. Their ownership's probably a little higher than it really should be just because they are a popular duo, but I could see them winning. They're probably more of an outright bet for me than a DFS play. A couple other guys, Will Zalatoris and Davis Riley used to live together while playing on the Korn Ferry Tour. That's why they are paired together. Mcdowell and Power, they both finished top 20 in 2019 on different teams. They come in at 8,600 there. McDowell was 223 last year. Power had a good showing at the match play. McDowell played well at the Corrales, so they're both in decent form. Svensson and Hadwin, been talking about them a little bit. Both birdie makers. Let me get this up here. Perfect. Both birdie makers. Hadwin's been in great form. Svensson fits that like Bryson type that I was saying. Lots of birdies, has quite a few bogeys to go along with it, but he just drills it with his iron. So really like Svensson quite a bit and Hadwin. Couple other darts that we'll throw out there. Thigala and Bo Hostler, two young talents that I think could maybe crack the top 20 together. Smotherman and Harry Higgs, I tweeted about them last night. They're either going to be, dead last, or they could, be a top 5 finish. Just kind of a fun duo as well. Smotherman's a good ball striker. Higgs has been playing well recently, played well at the Masters. They played together at SMU, and they played with Bryson in college as well there too. So, and then last one that I'll talk about before we head out of here today, Peter Eulin and Richie Warinski. I expect them to, honestly, I really do expect them to be 15-20% ownership, just because they have great course history here. They were T3 last year, and they played well in the alternate shot format. And they even talked about it in an interview, how they just kind of vibe well together, again, within that format. They aren't really playing the greatest, at least Warinski's not. Eulin had a Korn Ferry Tour win recently, but they did really well last year. They finished 3rd place, I believe. They did well in that alternate shot format, which, again, I think is the key to doing well here. So, yeah, that's all I got on as far as the field goes. If you have any other questions, reach out to me on Twitter or in the Discord, of course. There's going to be a lot of great shows all week long that will break down the DFS field and the betting board much deeper than I will. So make sure that you're coming back to the Fantasy Points YouTube channel to check those out. Again, I want you to think about that question. Hit us up on Twitter. Who is your dream pair? If you could pick 2 golfers, current players or former golfers, and if you could pair them together, who would it be? It could be a fun pair. It could be one that's, trying to win, of course, or it could just be your favorite golfers like mine, Victor Hovland and Tiger Woods. So again, if you could put 2 guys together, current players or former players, or a mix of both, again, who would you pick and why? Reach out to us on Twitter. I am Hunter Van Ness at Huntman10 on Twitter. This is the early tee time live stream show on Fantasy Points. And good luck this week, everyone. I hope you all win some money.